Right now, the Chinese are buying up gold by the pallet, preparing for something big in the global currency markets. Today, a story completely missed by the media and even gold analysts is China's 7,000-year-old strategy to acquire gold for pennies on the dollar. The financial press has barely scratched the surface of China's gold hoard. The real secret to their gold accumulation will one day shock the world. The Chinese aren't the only ones using this strategy. So are some of the wealthiest investors on Earth, accelerating their gold accumulation with one of the oldest businesses known to mankind. Learn more about China's real gold accumulation strategy at futuremoneytrends.com/China strategy. Do you think if the Fed can just hold this damn thing together for another decade, that technology can kind of overwhelm the tsunami of the economic and monetary crisis?
No, I really don't. Technology is what it is, you know, whether it's the industrial age or the digital age, it does what it does. But the greatest, you know, if you're a robber and a thief during the industrial age or one during the digital age, it makes no difference. And all the talk about, you know, extending lives and on, you know, when you look back at the 20th century, one of the greatest reasons why life expectancy rose so much is because of two basic reasons: sanitation and food handling. And that's a fact. And matter of fact, you go back to the Black Plague that killed 60% of Europe, you know, it was sanitation and food handling. So yeah, the drugs keep people alive, but alive and well is another question. And the technology, you know, in the geek world, they think that they're going to come up with something that's going to make them live forever. You know, they're not on this planet that I know of. You know, there's the cycles of you're born, you grow, you mature, reach old age, and die, whether it's a tree or a planet. So no, the economics is separated from the technology as I see it.
How about when it comes to the digital currencies? Do you see this as a trend that will continue to grow?
No. I had always had mixed feelings on it. And again, I could be wrong. I was wrong about Facebook, for example. I didn't think it would continue to expand the way it did. I thought it would go the way of MySpace in so many ways, you know. But I could see that people have become so addicted to their handhelds that you know, it's become something that they can't let go of. So and the whole social media phenomenon. So I got that wrong. But you know, again, you know, we're not perfect. We get a lot of things. Yeah. We get the vast majority right. On the digital, it doesn't make sense to me. It reminds me of the dot-com boom. I never understood it. And everybody was trying to convince me that it was. Matter of fact, in March of 2000, in October of 1999, in the Trends Journal, it's there for everybody to see. They could go to our website, trendsresearch.com. I had forecast a dot-com bust by the second quarter of 2000. It happened in March of 2000. It didn't make sense to me. Neither does a digital currency. It makes no more sense to me than a fiat currency that has more currency than a digital currency, because at least it's pretended to be backed by something. So why would I go digital when I could go gold? Gold's been around since the written word. Bitcoin, you know, look at the fluctuations.
You know, on the lighter side, I want to bring this up because you mentioned it, where people are stuck staring at their phones. But with the smartphones, I mean, it's a really poor representation of the human race, where everybody is staring at their phones. There's no phone manners. People text and talk right in the middle of a conversation with somebody who's physically present with them. What are your thoughts on this addiction? I mean, would you call it an addiction that people have to their smartphones? It's
definitely an addiction. It's an addiction. Again, if it was providing such a great benefit, why are we in the problems that we're in now, socially, economically, morally, and spiritually? It's a steady decline. I do not carry one. I don't own one. I have one of the oldest model cell phones you could possibly get, and all I do is keep it in the glove compartment of my car.
Good for you.
And then when I travel, I carry it with me. I mean traveling, whether it's, I'm talking air travel. But I do not, going to another country or another state, I do not walk around with one. I'll tell you what happened. I do a lot of talks for major corporations and associations. I'll never forget doing one for the Cellular Telephone Communications Association. Back in the day when people used to have these big units in the trunks of their cars and an aerial sticking out. That's how far back. And I saw the whole progression. Then around 2000, it started to change dramatically. And every one of my friends, every one of them said, man, I'm not going to get it. I'm not buying into that trip, man. I'm not going to, people got to get a hold of me all the time. I want my freedom. I'm not going to do that. And one by one, they changed. Well, in case there's an emergency, I want to have one, you never know when your car's going to break down. I said, oh, you're going to just keep it in your car then? Well, no, you don't know if there's an emergency. Somebody's trying to get a hold of you. Everybody folded. I remember going down the city, going to a radio show on WOR. Oh, it was the Dolans. They were great people. And anyway, and I'm walking across Broadway, and I went on the air and I said, I'm watching this guy walk across the street on his telephone, on his cell phone. I said, what does he have, a bleeder on the other end? He has to talk to them. There's an emergency. And everybody got addicted. It's an addiction.
Yeah. I was going to say it's heartbreaking every time you go, if you drive by a park lately and just look out the parents, their interaction with their children is the parent staring at the phone and possibly pushing the child with the other free hand. It's horrible.
I know. And you go to an event and, with parents watching, all they're doing is they're, filming the kid. They're missing, studies are showing, they're missing the entire presentation. They have no recall because they're focused on that one thing. I'll tell you a quick story. I'm in Colonial Kingston, New York. It's the first capital of New York State. We have 3 of the stone buildings on the most historic corner. They're 3 of them are pre-Revolutionary War. The other one is a 1661 building, and that's a museum. There's another building here, the 1777 Senate House. It's the oldest public building in the United States, the oldest building open to the public in the United States. There's a great tavern. It's called the Stockade. This was called the Stockade District. And matter of fact, they won one of the top 20 bars in the United States. And someone wanted to introduce me to a younger woman who writes about issues of the younger generation, which, we're always looking for, because I'm not in that groove. And we meet at this place, and the windows are open. We're looking out the back street, and you can see the Senate House on this beautiful street. And I said to this woman, I look out my windows where our offices are, and I watch people walking down the street all day long, and they're missing the beauty around them. I said it would be like walking down this street and being on your handheld and not seeing the Senate House, not seeing the other buildings around it, not seeing the birds or the trees, and not seeing another face. And the woman looked at me and said, while you're looking at the ordinary, I'm looking at the world. And rather than my Italian temper going nuts, I said to her, I would love for you to write that piece. Here's my card. And of course, I never heard from her. I can text my friends in New Zealand. Great. Please, I'd love for you to write that. And that's what's happening. Like you mentioned going to the park. The mother doesn't see the smile on the kid's face or the pain on the kid's face, the wonder on the kid's face, anything on the kid's face. They're looking at their hand. They're looking at an electronic instrument in their hand.
Mr. Celente, the last topic I really want to cover is for everybody who listens to you and they're like me. where you're seeing this whole thing where this big fraudulent economy, the sociopaths have run amok all around the world. But then ultimately you have to think for yourself, as you often give that advice. And I just learned now that it came from your father, which is great. So for people who want to get into a business, they need to be able to make money by themselves now. For people who perhaps were laid off because of the sociopath contracts that they've been providing to foreign nations and the World Trade Organization, what are the big trends that entrepreneurs can focus on right now for the next decade?
Food and water are the clear winners. And having said that, first let me backtrack. I created my own business. I created trends. I invented it. As a kid in school, they'd ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? First I didn't want to grow up. and then secondly, I had no idea. And so the first thing is, what's your passion? The second thing to always remember is it's never easy. It's never easy. It takes work and dedication. I study constantly. I have one of my sayings, if anybody that's interested in even remotely looking at trends, if you miss 3 days of seeing what in the world is going on and understanding it in a row, it's like walking into the second act of a play. You don't have a clue. So that's the second thing. The third thing is to understand, as it takes work, it also takes continual practice and devotion. And yes, you have to let your heart speak for your mind, but you have to also be grounded in reality. And to me, the most important thing is to do something that you're going to love. I mentioned to you that we're in Kingston, New York. Right across the street is the courthouse. By the way, in the original courthouse over here, they wrote the Constitution for New York State when it was the capital, of which 90% of America's Constitution came from.
Wow.
And 4 Supreme Court justices came from here, including John Jay. They were jurors in this courthouse. Anyway, I know a lot of state workers and county workers, and I asked them, how do you like your job? 4 years, 8 months, and 6 days. They could count the time left.
Wow.
They're taking jobs because, quote, of security, not of passion. I have you asked me earlier if I have children, and I said, no, I didn't. I'm alone. As I said, everybody I love is dead. And matter of fact, I have a wall here in the office here at the Trends Research Institute of all the ancestors on the wall. And I have a saying, I have a definition of hell. And again, I don't proselytize, believe what you want, think for yourself. To me, hell is taking that last breath and knowing you weren't the person you said you were or could have been. So what do you do for a livelihood? Become alive. Amen. We all have it. We all have it in our DNA. It's to awaken it. And to me, in order to do that, there are 3 essential requirements: physical, emotional, and spiritual health. And I don't mean spiritual in a religious sense. I mean of a much higher order than the rules and regulations that some group made up.
Well, when you say on a spiritual sense, do you share about that, or is that something that you don't want to get into?
It's very basic. It's simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It begins and ends there.
Yeah.
And it's about morality. And I want to make this clear too. I'm not the same guy I used to be when I was a young guy, first growing up in the Bronx and then in Yonkers. And, you know, I mean, I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. I was the chief government affairs specialist for a large segment of the chemical industry in the 70s. At 28 years old, I was putting on meetings at the Hay Adams and staying at the Willard. I mean, I'm not the same guy. You grow up, you learn, if you have that desire within you, and to keep changing and growing. And again, to me, I want to leave this trip on a high note. You know, as I say, I don't know whether it was Buddha, Muhammad, or Jesus, but I think one of the three said, you better boogie before the lights go out, because tomorrow is iffy. So I want to have it, you know, I want to live life to the fullest, do the best I can to be the best I am.
Well, Mr. Celente, this was a great interview. And just to confirm, you built the Trends Research Institute. Hillary Clinton had no hand in helping you?
Well, she was my champion, as she is the champion of everyday people.
All right. Well, hey, if anyone would like to subscribe or learn more about Mr. Celente's work, you go to trendsresearch.com. Mr. Celente, am I correct in saying that there is a conference coming?
June 6th, right here in Colonial Kingston, and we're holding it, Daniel, at the Academy, the 1774 Academy that we restored. And a number of famous people of New York State went to school there, including Governor DeWitt Clinton and Vanderlyn, a famous Hudson River painter. And the area is one of the most historic in the country. And we have a great time at these, too. Fine food, entertainment. We bring in a live band, a nice quartet, you know, of real cats that know how to play. And so it's much more than just learning trends. Also, we have some special guests here, including Nomi Prinz, who wrote the wonderful book, All the President's Bankers. There's still some room, and so you can go to our webpage, trendsresearch.com, click on conferences, and there's all the information you'll need to know history before it happens.
All right. Mr. Celente, thank you so much, and I hope to speak to you again real soon.
Oh, thank you, and all the best to you.